Hello everyone, my name is Oliver. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. My feelings regarding the drama involving Lily and the lawsuit are conflicted. The concept that she would be a badass hedge and not back down in spite of what had happened to her is, on the one hand, something that I find really adorable. However, I can see Daniel's point of view when he says that he wants to retain the rights to some of the things that he has developed. He is defending Lily behind her back, saying things like, "She doesn't want to see my face every day," and he was prepared to retire if she didn't dismiss him. He has accepted responsibility for adultery. I can appreciate the attempt to create a juicy issue from a soap opera perspective. But the problem is that I really don't know who I should be rooting for in this situation. The idea of Lily or Daniel getting what they want is not something that I feel passionately about, and Devon and Billy are a source of headaches for me. Adding Abby to the mix the next week will make the situation even more difficult. Is it possible for us to just separate these businesses and present fresh stories? Try to figure out how Lily could end up losing her job here. In recent times, Phyllis is causing a commotion in not one but two different dramas. Yet, her antics are not as effective as they once were. She needs to be reset in some way, because the writing that she has been doing has been terrible. I can freely confess that I found her prancing over to Chance and Nate to be quite amusing. Furthermore, I am almost positive that she will be agitating behind the scenes at Chancellor Winters on behalf of Daniel. But the situation with Danny is a complete and utter disaster. In spite of the fact that you may agree with her that cricket is a stupid game, her incessant harping on the bug is more boring than boring. Imagine that you have been fighting tooth and nail for this guy, and then you realize that she has decided to walk away because of a client that she does not even know. It is my genuine hope that this is not a ruse to get Phyllis to show up in the front row at one of Danny's concerts. No. A simple no. This story, which is a public service announcement that is only barely disguised, is saved by the acting. This is something that we would not be able to see if we did not care about the characters involved. What exactly is the issue? It's nothing but empty words. It would have been better if we had given Connor the opportunity to interact with other young individuals in Genoa City and observe how his problems developed. 2 or 3 cutaways showing Connor pulling the threads on his hoodie or writing in his journal are the bare minimum that should be done. Despite the fact that we care for these folks as much as we do, and even though we have included a little Sharon for good measure, the amount of screen time that this plot is taking up with discussion and therapy speak is not enough to make up for it. The writers are relying on mental health as a story device far too heavily at this point, which is especially problematic when you take into consideration the fact that we have already been through all of Billy and Adam's male agony before this. At the same moment that you believed that Ashley's story had reached its zenith, and that she was prepared to undergo outpatient therapy, here comes her most recent alternative personality, a Southern belle. It is beyond our comprehension how she was able to evade Tracy's careful gaze for a sufficient amount of time to retrieve a red dress and make her way to the bar, but we were aware that this was going to happen. Tracy will spend time with Danny, who is from one of her previous relationships, while Miss Ashley enjoys her tequila and lime. You take great pleasure in observing it. No one is more in need of a confidant than our very own Tracy. However, as the situation develops, Ashley's friend, who is a psychiatrist and lives in Paris, will show up at the scene. Is it possible that Ashley will find herself in Fairview sooner rather than later? To discover out, you will need to tune in to the show. There are more holes in the kidnapping narrative on Young and the Restless than there are in Ashley Abbott's memory, and we are not messing around. There is no question that when watching a soap opera, one must, to a certain extent, suspend their disbelief, yet we all have our limits. Begin with the fundamentals, shall we? How was it that Jordan was able to follow Claire to the Abbott mansion, remove her disguise as a man, clean herself up, kidnap a delivery driver and truck, acquire some chloroform and a cloth, sneak into the Abbott mansion without being seen or heard, confront both Claire and Harrison, and drag them both back out to the truck on her own to the truck without making a sound. During the entire time that Tracy and Ashley were sleeping a few feet away, Kyle was up and alert downstairs. In Act 2, we had the frenzy, and I have to admit that both Alison Lanier and Michael Miller did an excellent job portraying the worried parents. On the internet, there has been a great deal of criticism directed against Summer's response, which is completely unwarranted. Now that she has been this boy's mother for eons, she loves him as if he were her own child. With this in mind, her reaction was absolutely correct, as were her suspicions regarding Claire. In the event that someone had carried out a conspiracy in which my father was stabbed, my grandma was incarcerated with a vodka IV, and my entire family was poisoned, I would require more than her spending a few weeks in memorial to believe that she had changed during that time. The fact that this family has so readily accepted a young woman who was a part of a devilish plan to kill them all, even if they wanted to do it with all of their heart, is not something that can be considered reasonable. The fact that Summer waited until the following day to call her lover, who had previously served as the chief of police, was another unrealistic expectation. Wouldn't Chance have been the first person she would have called? To add insult to injury, why is everyone waiting for Jack and Victor to devise a strategy? If Jordan, Claire, and Harrison are still missing, why aren't Kyle, Nick, Cole, and Chance out hunting for them? Nick and Victor are well aware that she has previously taken refuge in a motel room. Michael was the one who was tasked with addressing the problem of keeping track of the mobile. The fact that the Newmans had alerted everyone about Jordan would have prevented this kidnapping from ever taking place, which is perhaps the most significant flaw in this captivity. Despite the fact that Victor places a high priority on safeguarding his family, he never made the effort to inform his extended family about the severity of the danger that Jordan posed to each and every one of them. And what exactly is Billy doing in all of this? So, let us tell you about it. While his family was dealing with two major crises, Ashley's mental health and Harrison's kidnapping, he was seen jovially approaching Chelsea in the club after a heated argument at Chancellor Winter's and asking if she would like to get a table for lunch. This occurred while his family was dealing with two major emergencies. There is no mention of the Abbott drama, and he does not care about the fact that the home of his children was destroyed by a crazed individual. He is solely concerned with his girlfriend and Connor. Ensure that it makes sense. Nikki is once again reaching for the bottle or flask, and by doing so, she is putting herself in a position to collide with the extremely infamous Jordan. As we watch the preview, we see her waiting for the meetup in a back alley while she is hanging out. We hope that the kid is far out of the way for the final showdown, but it remains to be seen whether it will turn out to be a trade meet of sorts in which Harrison is ultimately released. How come? Learn what we believe will take place in this location. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe my Isa Media to our channel and stay with us.